a long story, and the problem is that people keep wanting to ignore obvious facts. I've gone to every mandated reporter that there is to go to. I've got recordings with hundreds and hundreds of mandated reporters. When people ask me, have you called this place or have you called that place, I've probably got everything in triplicate. I mean, I have to do this alone. Do you know what that's like? So I'm overwhelmed. And when I'm overwhelmed, I can't function. I'm also physically disabled, so I can't take care of myself. There's a channel called Murder Candy, I think it's called. The lady who made that channel, her name is Avery, and she speaks in the most positive light out of all these videos because I'm made out to be a predator. You need to understand that, alright, my predators reach out and harass me from across state lines, across county lines, across jurisdictional lines all the time, not just on the internet. Now, there's a lot of videos that were made about me, and those keep me targeted. And I've been especially targeted already, and I think that that lady who made that video about Natalie Bollinger, it's called, hold on a second. I got a tablet here. That's one of the things with the technology. People assume that I'm Rain Man because I'm autistic. I'm not. My dad thinks I'm Rain Man. He always tries to exploit my math abilities. I'm not good at math. I don't like math. I'm excellent at math if it's something I'm interested in. I like the way that bird wings move. I like the way that hands move. I like the way that things work. That includes human beings. Now, there's a lot of stuff. I'm going to pull this up. We'll see if it will pull up. And I'll play part of it for you. All right. It's called Hired a Hitman on Craigslist. It's called, and the channel is, or no, it's called Hired Hitman on Craigslist, Natalie Bollinger. And the podcast is called Murder Candy Podcast. And there's literally hundreds of these. But this one right here is the closest to not being completely horrible. Let me turn the camera around. See, it's very real. Now, when I try to explain that this stuff is going on, that I'm being harassed, threatened, and assaulted, that people are threatening to kill me and my family, and I've got a lot of evidence of this too. You know, the problem is getting people to actually look at the evidence. I've taken it to multiple people in Nebraska. I've got Nebraska DHS recorded. Tara Smith is supposed to be with Adult Protective Services. I've got her recorded, and she also admits to another situation. And rather than telling me how I can get that information, she tells me it's going to take an act of God. Now, this is not professional. This is definitely not professional. Now, because of my disabilities and because of my inabilities financially, which are also disabilities, they were created by slander and by this targeting. So how can I stop the targeting that is keeping me broke when I am too broke? Meanwhile, I try to set it up so that I can meet with these people in person. And I've got recording after recording after recording with mandated reporters where I'm telling them about the abuse, and they're doing everything that they can to make every excuse to look away, to not look at the evidence. Tara Smith turned off the recordings that I was trying to show her, the actual evidence. I'd already met with her before about that. That's the thing, is that there's a lot of predators in my life that I've been trying to turn in. But because of the death of Natalie Bollinger, and because of the fact that, well, these are the departments that I had to go to before Natalie Bollinger was killed, obviously it's not going to turn out too well. Let's turn the volume all the way down, because we don't want to look at the advertisement. I live in my car. I got tools. There's some stuff I'm able to do, but not a lot. Most of my evidence is stuffed up underneath all of that crap. The evidence is underneath there because I don't have access to process or go through that. I don't have a place to do that. Oh, come on now. It's not loading up the video. I'm trying to figure out why. Maybe it'll work now. Oh, there it goes, back online. Sorry about that. I'm not trying to make it complicated. The thing is, I have back injuries. I have leg injuries. I have wrist injuries. I used to be an artist until multiple assaults by police. I've got the paperwork that shows that I tried to turn this stuff in when I was locked up on false charges. That's right, false charges. I have to announce on YouTube what I'm doing before I do it. And every single time, even though I announce on YouTube that I'm trying to turn these people in, they pretend that I am threatening their families. Pretend! And they get help. Meanwhile, I have actual evidence of actual threats against me and my family. And nobody will look at it in person, and nobody will help me in person to do it on the internet. I have YouTube and Facebook to work with, and my email address, and that is it. All the rest of this stuff that I have, I've got multiple phones that are full of evidence of threats and harassment. I've got a YouTube channel here that's full of it. I have been screaming for help for years. Why the hell is this not working? Come on. It's being a pain. I don't have the ability to go somewhere that has internet in a place where it's appropriate. That's the thing. People keep telling me to go to the library. The library is inappropriate. I've been told in multiple libraries that it is inappropriate to do this in a library. I get told some libraries have private rooms. Well, you have to rent those private rooms. Not with money, thank goodness. But, of course, on my YouTube channel, if you take a look, you can see how impossible it was to get anything done in Hood River. Just because I had to pay for parking and didn't have the money. All of my money, I am disabled. All of my money that is supposed to go to taking care of myself, all of it has been going to running around in circles like a chicken with my head cut off, doing everything that every single mandated reporter tells me to do, calling every single place that every single mandated reporter tells me to call, and I have to do it alone. So I don't get anywhere. Nowhere at all. Right now, I'm parked at a McDonald's. I spent $1 for getting a coffee so that I could use the internet so I could do this. It's complicated. At least in my car, I can make the video here because I have to make sure that what I have to say is actually heard. Whether or not it's heard by you or not, I have to say it. I have to show the evidence. I have to show that I reached out to you. I have to record everything, that I did make the effort, that I still make the effort, that after 6 years, I've got mandated reporter after mandated reporter telling me I need to just move on or I need to move elsewhere if it's unsafe in an area. No, I need help turning in my predators when a situation happens, and police are not going to do that. Not for a homeless male especially. You know the bias. You know the bias. The fact that I had to announce on YouTube that I was trying to turn in Sheriff Scott DaCosta of Dual County and former Officer William Barr of Denver, Colorado, over crimes that he had committed, as well as Leslie Snell and the crimes that she committed. All of these are in connection with the Natalie Bollinger case, by the way. Natalie was killed in Colorado. But the abuse that I endured, the stalking that I endured for over a year before she was killed, was brought to the attention of Dual County Sheriff's Department. Not necessarily Scott DaCosta. I don't know what his deputies talk to him about and what they don't. What I do know is that I brought it to them on multiple occasions. And when there was multiple occasions after Natalie's death where I was being threatened, harassed, and intimidated by Natalie Bollinger's friends and family, nobody did a goddamn thing then either. And then people want to claim that I still won't leave Natalie alone. She's been dead since 2017. They caught the guy that did it. But I got to deal with a lot of hate. And when I try to explain that there are videos out there that other people made and they're spreading slander that I literally to this day never been allowed to show evidence that it's slander in court. I've never gotten even one mandated reporter to sit down with me and look at it in person. I have recording after recording after recording in person with mandated reporters here in Oregon, in Nebraska, in Wyoming, in Colorado, in Montana, in Virginia and Tennessee. In Washington State, mandated reporter after mandated reporter telling me to call someone else. The police tell me to call mental health. Mental health tells me I got to get a hold of the police. Police say it's a civil matter. I call up all these lawyers I'm told to call. Well, they all give me the same information. All of them. I'm called mentally ill, so I have to get a guardian or an advocate, and people keep telling me, oh, you need to get an advocate, you need to get an advocate. I know I need to get an advocate. I've been trying to get an advocate since before Natalie was killed. There is a ton of evidence of this. I just got a message from Jason. He's a guy here in Tillamook. His wife, well, she went in with me to the Social Security office to fill out the stuff, paperwork, try to get food stamps here in Oregon. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have anything right now. My car would already be gone. My evidence would already be gone. Now, a lot of people want to talk about how Natalie paid somebody to kill her, how she tried to hire a hitman on herself. You know what? I was literally trying that for over a year before she was killed. Does anybody pay any attention to that? Natalie Bollinger was on drugs and people listened to her. I don't do drugs and nobody listened to me. They want to tell me, oh, Sean, I'm sorry. Sean, you're the most honest person I know. Yeah, but are you telling anyone else that? Or are you just blowing smoke up my backside? A lot of people said, hey, I'll write a letter to whoever it is I need to write one to. But the thing is, it didn't matter because all of those places I had to talk to alone. I had to call alone. And all of them were telling me it's somebody else's job. Now then there's these other agencies that are supposed to help, right? You're told to call all these other agencies, and there are hundreds of them nationwide, trying to keep one separate from the other and remember exactly the names and exactly the times and exactly the dates that all of these things happened. That's why I recorded. But I got to have access to those recordings while I'm speaking to you. I can't do that appropriately in Starbucks. I can't do that appropriately in the library. It's not appropriate. I got to talk about physical assaults and sexual assaults and people getting their brains blown out and people overdosing on fentanyl. Ma'am, I used to save lives. That's what I did. So many people, they got the excuse that one person in their life died, and now they can't do anything at all. They can't tell the truth now because somebody they know died. Well, a lot of people I know died, and that didn't stop me from helping people. That didn't stop me from stepping in where it needed to be stepped in. I've got dozens of situations just here in Tillamook where I had to rise to the occasion because no one else would. I've recorded one abusive situation after another against the most at-risk homeless people. The most at-risk, those who are called mentally ill, and that tag is not okay. I have evidence from actual witnesses of my predators running around town, Chapel, Nebraska, claiming that I am schizophrenic and delusional. Them lying to judges in order to prevent me from being heard. Me being denied my rights to face my accusers, to show evidence. With Scott DeCosta, Leslie Snell, and a registered sex offender named Robert Franklin Mornick. You might want to look his name up on the Nebraska registered sex offenders list. He does exist. Well, he's friends with Leslie Snell. Leslie Snell is a receptionist for Scott DeCosta, who's the sheriff. He's the only law enforcement there other than the state patrol. I got many calls with the state patrol. I'm told by state patrol, whose job it is to investigate these things, that I have to turn it into Scott DeCosta. I have this recorded over and over again. I have Dual County Sheriff's Department recorded repeatedly telling me that they can't investigate themselves. So I have to go to Nebraska State Patrol. So I call Nebraska State Patrol, and Nebraska State Patrol tells me it's not their job to police the police. Well, I've got dozens and dozens of examples in western Nebraska alone. Scott DeCosta was able to utilize the jurisdictions around him and the law enforcement around him because of situations surrounding Natalie Bollinger's death. I was assaulted by a police officer named Waylon Lolotai. You can look his name up, Waylonlolotai. This is a very violent man. After Natalie's death, he and several other officers took part in an assault against me and multiple assaults after that. They assaulted me so that they could charge me with crimes that I didn't commit immediately after Natalie's death, before they found the guy who did it. They thought they were going to catch a killer. These are the guys who still can't find JonBenet Ramsey's killer. Since I announced on YouTube, just in case anything happened to me, if they tried to pull any sly shit, that there would be evidence of my intentions. I spoke my intentions repeatedly on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook. My intention to turn these people in. When they realized I was trying to turn them in, Scott DeCosta and Leslie Snell and William Barr pulled their power as law enforcement to prevent me from turning them in and to have me incarcerated illegally. As you may know, in the state of Nebraska, it is okay for them. If you're in a small county that doesn't have a jail, they can put you literally in prison as a county safekeep without a conviction. What Scott DaCosta has done repeatedly, and Leslie Snell and Robert Franklin Mornick, with the threats, harassment, and assaults, intimidating people who are trying to help me over and over and over again, refusing to investigate any crimes against me, running around town telling people that I'm mentally ill. And then there's people like Polly Olson, who is a witness to many of these situations. But instead of coming forward is her job, was her job, she decided to help exploit my disabilities and assist her friends in the Dual County Sheriff's Department, who she worked with very closely and, by her own admission, was friends with. She helped them to get away with their crimes. Now, I spoke out about all of these situations. Polly Olson is now in a lot of trouble because she did to the citizens of Dual County same thing she did to me with the citizens of Dual County. She decided to spend a bunch of money that belonged to the taxpayers. With me, she helped apportion over $100,000 of taxpayer dollars to have me incarcerated for 7 months, where I was physically and psychologically and sexually abused repeatedly in multiple jurisdictions by law enforcement. And Scott DaCosta, the very officer I was trying to turn in and had it set up to turn in with Nebraska State Patrol, well, that was prevented from happening, but at the same time, Nebraska State Patrol didn't fulfill their end of the bargain. They didn't call back or show up. Meanwhile, there was a safety issue that was created because they were very, very slow in getting anything done or showing up. That was 18 months at least after the first time that I called Nebraska State Patrol over Scott DaCosta and spoke with them about it. Now, later on, here's the thing that baffles me. The Nebraska State Patrol, Sergeant Jones, Troop E, and Investigator Woods, these are the names that were thrown at me by one of the Chapel resident State Patrol officers named William Burr, or Bill Burr. He was supposed to have turned in everything that I told him. I'm supposed to do something about the evidence because I don't have the ability to show it myself unless it's in person. If you meet with me in person, I can show you. But as you can see, that doesn't happen. I get sent on to somewhere else. Why don't you just move? Why don't you just move? Well, then you're out of jurisdiction. You're still being victimized wherever you move to over slander that's on the internet. And then people want to pretend that because I speak out, that's why I'm being abused. No. If a little girl is raped and she speaks out, does that make it okay to rape her? How about if it's a grown woman? If a grown woman, if she says, hey, I'm being raped, does that make it okay to rape her? How about if it's a man? How about if he's a homeless man? How about if he's mentally ill, has Asperger's or Tourette syndrome? I wanted to play that video for you because in it, that lady, and I really encourage you to watch it, please. It shows you why I'm being targeted and how I'm being targeted. Also, there's a lot of information in there that she got wrong. That lady Avery. Scott DaCosta and Leslie Snell and Robert Franklin Mornick and William Barr and William Burr all worked together to have me incarcerated. Polly Olson helped them. For 7 months, I was incarcerated, including being sexually assaulted in prison by the guards for trying to turn them in. That's the problem, is that when I try to turn it in alone, they get to retaliate against me, and who's going to stop them? All they have to do is say he's mentally ill, and nobody listens. And that's the problem. I've gone to hundreds of mandated reporters, and most of them, instead of listening to the details or looking at the evidence, what they do is they talk over me after I tell them what the initial situation is. If I say I was assaulted by an officer, then it becomes an argument. Instead of that person listening to the victim, that person saying it's not my fault or I'm sorry. No, those are not the right things to say. Those are blowing off the person who is trying to tell you what's going on. Now in this, there's a lot of stuff that Asperger's and PTSD are very closely related. A lot of the things that people consider Asperger's traits and is still in the dictionary, despite the fact that we showed it to be mythology in the 1990s. What we're experiencing with those traits is called severe PTSD. It's from long-term abuse. As soon as people find out that we have Asperger's, no matter how intelligent we are automatically set aside into the retard pile. The too stupid to know what the fuck is going on pile. The, oh, they must have grown up under a rock with handmaids and hand servants and don't know a thing about the world around them. It's not that we don't understand the world around us, it's that you guys don't understand us. Our wires aren't crossed. We're wired differently. You know, if you go down to the store, you go down to the parts store, and you get a wiring harness. Let's say you're the average work truck. You're a Dodge, Chevy, or a Ford here, more than likely. Let's say you're a Ford, all right? Parts are cheap. Parts are cheap for Fords. And they're a dime a dozen. But if you buy a wiring harness for a Ford and you try to put it in a Maserati, it's not going to fit. Nothing is going to line up. Nothing is going to match. People with Asperger's are supreme human beings. I don't mean superior in every way. I'm not saying we're some sort of master race or any craziness like that. What I'm saying is that just because we're different doesn't mean we're wrong. And that's one of the things that we have with this Me Too movement. Trying to pretend that because men have different parts, that they can't be victims, that they must be the predators. Natalie Bollinger was on drugs. People claimed that I was on drugs to deny me the right to be heard. They didn't deny her that right, and she was on drugs and I wasn't. People feel bad for her because she hired Joseph Lopez to blow her brains out. You know what? I'd been begging. I offered my vehicle. I offered my disability money. I offered everything that I had. Help me or put one in me. Put some lead in my head. That was well before Natalie was ever killed. Now, there's a lot of people who get on here and heckle me and hassle me on my YouTube channel. And people say, oh, well, just get off of YouTube. That's their fucking solution. I have to deal with these predators in real life. People like Molly here in town. I'm in Tillamook, Oregon. And people play that stuff. They do immoral and illegal things to me. And then they play victim and get away with it. And I am never heard over the tag of mentally ill. I don't know the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. I don't know which one I had. What I do know is that this lady was going to The lady I spoke with yesterday told me to talk to this lady. I'm also supposed to, for the people here in Oregon, I'm supposed to, for a lady named Heidi, I'm supposed to call a lady at CARES here in Oregon. And then I'm also supposed to go to Salem, and I'm supposed to go to Portland, and I'm supposed to go to all of these different places. I still got to get tires for my vehicle so I can do all this driving because they're bald. It is unsafe for me to drive. I am too mentally distraught and have been too mentally screwed up because of abuse to safely drive since 2016. I have had severe issues with walking upstairs since 2015. I have been repeatedly physically assaulted by officers who are trying to help my predators get away with committing crimes. I was trying to turn in a lot of people, and if you'll notice, each and every one of those cases, I spoke about my intent to turn them in. Over and over and over again. Along with those speaking out on YouTubes, I also then went in and tried to turn these things in. And I always had to do it alone. Thousands, literally thousands of crimes committed against me, and they continue. Because I am forced into a situation where I literally cannot take care of myself. There's a lot of people on my channel like Zach Richmond and Dallas Richmond. And, of course, Jace, Jace. Ma'am, there's literally hundreds of recordings, thousands of recordings with hundreds of witnesses on my YouTube channel. In addition to hundreds and hundreds of calls to the places that I'm told I need to call to get help. For me to get treated like I am harassing them for being told to go to them. Who is it that I am supposed to go to turn in these crimes? In the state of Nebraska, everyone is a mandated reporter, as you well know. No, I can't remember every single name, time, and date, but I recorded it. So every single name, time, and date, the actual instance itself is recorded. There are literally thousands of recordings that are not on YouTube and not on Facebook because they contain too much private information like social security numbers. Anyway, I gotta go talk to a lady and see if she'll make these calls with me and if we can find a place to do it. So I gotta go over to Fred Meyer's and see what I can do over there. Also, everything that I was gonna do today, I have to set off and do another day. I gotta go let Lewis know that I'm not gonna be able to use him today because I gotta try to talk to somebody who probably is going to blow me off and send me on to someone else and tell me it's not her job. See, this is the thing. I'm trying to turn in actual crimes committed against me, and I keep getting told that they're civil. I have proven time and time and again, that it's not civil. If I do it, it's criminal. What's the difference? Why aren't my predators allowed to chop up little parts and pieces and have court without me? It's because I don't have a guardian. And all of you guys keep telling me, oh, I can't do anything about them. These are crimes that were committed against me that still impact me. Yes, you can. If a crime was committed against me 10 minutes ago, it was in the past. You can always use that excuse. If I tell you what I'm worried about people doing to me because they have done it to me repeatedly, you tell me you can't do anything to me until there's a crime committed. And then when a crime is committed, you tell me you can't do anything about the past and I just need to move on. Or you tell me to jump through 10,000 fucking hoops that I've already jumped through for 10,000 other people? And no, not literally 10,000, but yes, at least several hundred are giving me the same suggestions as you. Nobody's going to do anything unless someone goes with me, and that's the problem. Even you are not going to triage me in unless someone vouches for me, and that's the problem. Lots of people said they were gonna, but I was cut off from communication repeatedly by predators who targeted me over slander on the internet, and slander in the news, and slander by law enforcement who didn't want to do their job before Natalie was killed. Me and Natalie Bollinger were both begging for someone to fucking kill us because of abuse. Meanwhile, Natalie wasn't abused by me. She was abused by her family. She gave them what they fucking wanted. She scapegoated the only person in her entire life who actually gave a shit about her. But nobody gives a shit about me. It's just entertainment to them. Holy hell. I'm about saving lives, not taking them. I'm gonna drive over there to Kara. Apparently, I can't get this working. On the bright side, you can watch the video yourself. Avery Murder Candy podcast on YouTube. That's about the nicest one there is. There's also the fact that the autism traits that she's reading off, those are PTSD traits, not autism traits. The correlation between bullying and intelligence is way up there. Intelligent people are more likely to get made fun of and bullied than others. People who are disabled are more likely to get picked on or bullied than others. Homeless people are less likely to be heard than anyone else in the country, and they are more likely than anyone else in the country to be murdered by police because cops know they can get away with it. If a cop murders your family, yeah, he fucking committed a felony. He murdered somebody. But you have to take him to civil court? Nah, that ain't right. If you have to take it to civil court, it means that mandated reporters are not doing their jobs. When we have to try to turn in these officers to their own departments, and their departments help cover up those crimes, they use that information to prevent you from turning them in. It's obvious in all of these situations that I was trying to turn these people in, and that they all got to win by having me incarcerated illegally over and over again, and preventing me from going to court, preventing me from showing any evidence whatsoever, and with nobody actually in my corner. I've got lots of people who claim that they were, but there's no evidence that they actually did. There's no evidence that Alyssa Rainwater ever showed up to any of my court dates. I never saw her at a court date because she never showed up to a court date. She claims that she showed up to a court date where it was canceled, and that might be true. But I've got actual evidence, and that evidence has not been seen because of slander and because of disabilities created by long-term abuse. So please don't send me on to someone else. Take it seriously. Natalie Bollinger is dead because nobody took it seriously. I had begged for people to shoot me in the head for over a year before Natalie was killed because of long-term abuse. I already knew what to expect from you people, as I have to put it. Anybody who gets a government check, they're going to triage you out if you're a disabled and homeless male. And I'm hoping you aren't going to do that.